Hey guys, it's Sarah with Straight Up Homeschool. I wanted to share our homeschool journey with you and why we homeschool. And I want to do that because sometimes hearing somebody else's story and their journey helps you figure out your own journey. So just keep in mind while you watch the video that, everybody's why is going to be a little bit different. Everybody's journey is going to look different. I don't know any of my friends that homeschool that, their reasoning is exactly the same as mine or is exactly the same as anybody else's. So we're all uniquely and individually made and have different gifts and talents, and our kids have different gifts and talents. And so everybody's journey is going to look a little bit different, and just keep in mind that that's okay. So don't try to replicate exactly what I'm doing. I do hope that I can inspire you, or maybe you hear, our story and you're like, yeah, that's definitely not my story. And that's okay. I'm good with helping you either way. So yeah, I would love to share some more with you. Okay, here we go. I'm going to talk about why we homeschool. My husband and I love to joke that, when we were dating, if he had said, we're going to have two boys, four dogs, and we're going to homeschool, I would have been like, I'm out. Like, I am not doing that. That is not the plan at all. But yeah, so when my husband and I first got married, we were in the military, and it's actually super common for military families to homeschool. They travel and move every 2 to 3 years. And so, to provide continuity in their children's lives, a lot of the families would homeschool. And, all the families that we met that homeschooled, the kids were so sweet. Like, they were kind and very smart and talented. And we were just always really impressed with the homeschool families. And so, that kind of like was our exposure to it. I think in my mind, homeschool was something completely different. I thought it was more like, oh, you're isolated, you're out on the prairie, everybody's wearing dresses, or all the ladies are wearing dresses. And I just had a very different view of what it was. And I guarantee you it is not that. We are not isolated. But yeah, so that was kind of our view of homeschool and how we were kind of exposed to it. So then when my oldest was kindergarten age and ready to go into public school, I just felt like, he already knew most of what they would be teaching him there. He already could read. He was already, he loved numbers and was already doing some simple math. And I just felt like, if we sent him to public school, he's going to be so bored. He's going to get into trouble. He's just going to be sitting in his desk all day. And it's really going to be a test of patience. And, nobody enjoys a test of patience. So, anyways, we decided to homeschool, and in Texas, kindergarten is not required. And so we kind of felt like, let's just try this 1 year. If it works, great. If it doesn't, no harm done. Like, we'll enroll him in the first grade and just carry on. And then during that kindergarten year, COVID happened. And so, man, we just kept going. We were just going strong. And then here we are, years later, drinking the Kool-Aid and still homeschooling. So yeah, that's kind of our journey to homeschool. We do reevaluate every year. Do we still want to homeschool? Is it still working? Am I still able to, what does my husband think? Should we put them in public school? Should we do private school? Here there are also a lot of homeschool classes where we live. We're really blessed that there's, homeschool day programs, multi-day programs. There's places that offer a la carte classes, or there are online classes. And so there's just a lot of options here. And so every year we pray about it and, discuss it and evaluate to see, where we want to go, how we want to best educate our children. Okay, so that's a little background on homeschool. Now I'm going to talk about why we homeschool. I guess that was a little bit of the why, but these are our top reasons for why we homeschool. And the first reason is that I think boys should be active. I think they should be outside playing. I don't think they should be sitting in a desk all day. I just think the way the Lord designed boys is to be very active. And so we wanted to, have a school system that allowed them to be active. And also, being in Texas, I'm wearing my Texas shirt, y'all, Texas. it's super hot in the summer here. And so I'm like, oh, that's kind of crappy, that, when they're off school, it's really hot and you can't be outside. Like, that's no fun. So in our school, we usually take some time off, like throughout the year, like if the weather is really nice, and in October and November, we'll be outside more and we'll do less school and do more outdoorsy active things. And so that's really helpful for the schedule and also for vacations. You can take vacations in the off seasons and save a ton of money. So I love that. And I love it that it's not as busy. If we go on vacations to different places that would normally be, waiting in line or just, hard to get into different restaurants. So that's like a little perk of homeschooling too. So the second reason we homeschool is to tailor our children's education. We can go faster in some subjects, we can go slower in other subjects. If our kids are really interested in a certain subject like the oceans or money or, a historical event, we can really dive in deep and, learn a lot and kind of do like an interest-led learning type of method. But yeah, I just love that because I think every kid has things that just come more naturally to them and you can go faster, or the things that are a little bit harder for them to comprehend, you can go slower. And I just think that's fantastic. So the third reason we homeschool, and I would say this could potentially be like number one or two also, but the third reason we homeschool is because we really want to create a love of learning in our children. We want them to just be able to learn, to say, hey, I don't know how to do this thing, but I know that I can read a book about it and I am able to comprehend and learn how to do that thing. Or even just like, hey, this is broken, how do I fix it? Well, I know how I can figure out how to do it. And so we wanted to give them the ability to know how to learn, and that's something that's really important to us, instead of being like, oh man, I have to do this. Like, sometimes there are things in life, where you just have to push through and do them. But yeah, that's just something that's really important to us, is just the ability to learn. And then the fourth main reason that we homeschool is it gives us a lot of time to play with our friends. And I know some people might say like, oh, you homeschool, your kids aren't going to be socialized. We have tons of socialization, good socialization with our friends of all ages, and it's really fun, to see the kids interacting with each other and having conversations and sharing ideas and working off of each other's ideas, and building forts or having projects, and just it's really been special to see that. Excuse me. And they can spend hours at a time doing those things, and it's fantastic. Yeah, so those are some of the main reasons that we homeschool. If y'all know me, you would probably think like, oh, it's religious reasons. And I don't even know if that's like in our top 10. I think it's great to homeschool for religious reasons, but that is not why we homeschool. So yeah. I think it's a perk though too. I did want to briefly mention the laws for homeschooling in Texas. So I'm in Texas, so these are the laws for Texas. If you are in a different state, please look up the laws for your state, because they're going to be different. Sometimes you have to submit your work or hit so many hours with your school, or so many days. But in Texas, the requirements for homeschooling are reading, writing, arithmetic, and to be a good citizen. You don't only have to do those things. Obviously, we do more than that, but those are the requirements. And so be a good citizen. I always take it to mean like vote, be a part of your church, understand how the community works, try to give back to your community, help your neighbors, love your neighbor, that sort of thing. And then I do document my stuff in a planner, what we do during the day, our books and curriculums and the lessons that we do. I do document it in a planner. I know I have friends that don't, and like, that's okay. They do they save samples of their children's work. But I've heard you can get audited. I don't know anybody who's ever been audited. I think the state, if you're reported, somebody can come and, make sure that you're actually doing school, that your kids are actually learning. But I have never heard of that happening. But I do document what we do. And then informing the school. So I have never talked with a public school. We never had our kids enrolled in school, so I didn't have to say anything, which felt weird. I felt like maybe I should say something, but if you are already enrolled in school and attending school, you do need to go talk with the office, the principal, the staff there, or send a letter. I would probably do both, or turn in a letter in person just to make sure your I's are dotted, your T's are crossed. So, anyways, I hope this helps you on your homeschool journey, and I love talking about homeschool. so, but yeah, okay, bye.